All right, welcome everybody to another Meet the Artist session. My name is Angela Simoes, and we're really excited to have today's artist. So as you all know, this effort, sorry about the background noise, I'm doing this from the airport, so there's a little bit of announcing in the background, that's what's happening. So as you may or may not know, this initiative is an extension of the Portuguese American Art Gallery, which is a joint initiative between the Portugal-U.S. Chamber of Commerce, PALCUS, the Embassy of Portugal, and it's been made possible with the support of FLAD. And so we encourage everybody to visit www.portugueseamericanartgallery.org and check out all the wonderful Portuguese that we have on the site. It's a wide variety of art, and they're all wonderful in their own right. And there's something for everybody. So we definitely invite you to visit the site. Our co-host today is one of the first artists that we previewed and had a Meet the Artist session with, Isabel Pavão, who is an artist based in New York. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi.
And I'll introduce today's artist, and then we'll let you take over, Isabel. So Jose Santos was born in the US, and he currently works as a high school art teacher in the Boston, Massachusetts area. Mr. Santos has taught art at all levels, from kindergarten to college, for more than 25 years. He received his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Illustration and Painting in 1984, as well as a Master of Science in Art Education in 1999 from Massachusetts College of Art in Boston. Most recently, in 2019, Santos had a solo art exhibit at the Multicultural Arts Exchange in Cambridge, Massachusetts, called Portuguese People and Places. He has been an active member of the Fort Point artist community in Boston, where he participated in virtual open studios with numerous podcast interviews in 2020. And most notably, in 2013, Jose Santos was the center of a PRI.org interview called What It Means for Jose L Santos to be a Portuguese American Artist. Very cool. So everybody go listen to that one. I'm going to do that. In 2018, the Archdiocese of the Catholic Church of Europe commissioned Santos to create a body of work consisting of a series of paintings and drawings of historically significant Portuguese bishops. Very cool. It's really cool. These works have been turned into a large tile mural, which is installed in and around the cathedral in Braga, Portugal. Put that on your list to go see, people, the next time you are in Braga. Very cool. Additionally, the Fogg Art Museum in Cambridge, Massachusetts acquired several of Santos's work in 2004. He also has pieces currently in the gallery at Firehouse Square in New London, Connecticut, and he creates and exhibits artwork throughout the United States and abroad. Wow. Welcome, Jose. What an honor.
Thank you. Likewise, what an honor. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Jose. For me, it's a pleasure to be co-hosting today this event, Meet the Artist. And thank you for inviting us to your studio. And I see you are surrounded by your artwork. So I see in your background something that reminds me very much of Portugal. You want to talk about it?
Sure, I'll start off with this piece. I figured, I went through my artwork and I kind of gathered a few things for this this talk, and this piece in particular, I figured would stand out. It's an earlier work, and it represents, at the time when I was creating this type of work, I was putting in some elements of I don't know if you can sort of see it okay. They can see the whole piece here. It sort of represented, like, I was trying to get a little bit of like the Manueline Portuguese style, like fishing, exploration artwork that's in architecture, and which I had seen when I traveled in Lisbon. So I tried to incorporate some of that, and just like, as you can see, this kind of represents like the tiled floors that are all around Lisbon, and that kind of caught my attention. I wanted to do something with it, and I sort of put it on this flat base, presenting it upwards versus like on the ground, and just lots of like little detail of you know, ropes and different,
Mhm.
you know, entangled material
Yeah.
there.
What technique is it? Is it, I see it's three-dimensional.
It is.
What is the material you are using?
Yeah, it's actually a relief. It comes off the surface about 3 inches or so. It's actually, this is a really heavy piece. It's actually, it's like it's a material called celluclay. It's like a gray pulp. It's like you can mold it and shape it, and so I actually covered like tree branches, which were really windy. I got those from the woods, and yeah, so it's kind of built up.
It's beautiful.
Thanks. Kept it like
Yeah.
that simple, just one color, 2 colors, you know.
Yeah. And
So
can
is
you
that-
tell us? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to ask, so is that one of the first pieces that you created in a 3D dimension, or had you done that before? And kind of like what led you to want to incorporate that element? Because it makes it much more like you almost want to like touch it, right? When people
Yeah.
see it.
It's very tactile, and especially as I was creating it, it was very, you know, a tactile experience, almost sculptural, but you know, I still wanted to keep it painterly. I have like several pieces. I figured, you know, this one I'd put on the easel, and I'll kind of walk you through a few other pieces that are similar, and I could talk about it. I usually tend to work in a series of about 10 or so, and I try to like exhaust that theme, and then I kind of like move on. That's generally been my approach to creating art, except the one strand that always continues throughout my work that I always have going is from my sketchbooks. My sketchbooks have kind of been my lifeline, where I always have a sketchbook or ideas flowing, so that when I'm not in my studio, I'm always drawing or creating something or sketching outside, but always have that going. And then everything else, like I work in series of 10s or so, 10, 20, like for just to have a body of work. And that actually accumulates. You can see my storage. I mean, I'm living in Boston, and it really, really accumulates. I mean, it's like, I have to, you know, now that I'm kind of at this stage, I have to kind of think about, you know, storage. What do I do? There's so much, you know.
You end up
That's a
selling?
problem.
Do you end up selling a lot of your works, or?
I don't sell all my works. I don't know any. I live in an artist building here in Boston. I to this day, I haven't met anyone who just a living artist that's, you know, a contemporary of mine that's, you know, consistently selling. I have sold, and I've sold well, and you know, I've had major projects where I've sold. But you know, when you're talking about selling on a consistent basis, you know, I just think of those really established contemporary artists in New York City, or you know, along those lines. Yeah. Let me show you.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay,
can you
sure.
show us a couple other things?
What's that?
Can you show us a couple other things?
Yeah. Okay. I'll switch these over. So I'll just kind of do like, I'll put it aside, and I'll bring another one up. I'll talk about a couple of them. I'm thinking of sharing like this body of work. I'll share a smaller body if we have time, or if we run out, then we run out. But I'll share some pieces, and then I'll share some of the more personal, intimate sketches, and I'll try to keep this on a Portuguese theme, Portuguese American theme, or kind of like along the lines. But that's not all I do, and that's not what I'm always doing, but it's definitely in the context of what we're, you know, in this forum. So let me start with the next one. Hold on.
Oh, it's actually quite big.
What's that?
It is.
It's quite big. When you
Yeah.
are sitting close to the screen, you don't get the scale of, you know, how big it is. But it's really cool. Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow.
Look at that.
These are really heavy. I
Nice.
built them on wood, and actually, here close by in Fall River that not too many people, I mean, it's not really, I'd like to point it out. I mean, in Fall River at the Portuguese marketplace, it's a big store that sells like Portuguese food products. I have like a number of pieces there. And it's really subtle, but if you ever go, you know, shopping for Portuguese food, you'll also see this type of work on that. Again, another series, but it was along this line. What I'm trying to do here with a lot of these pieces was I was trying, again, a little bit of the Manueline robe, that type of art, you know, I was really trying to search for something that was really Portuguese, but I also really wanted to convey like an American twist. So, you know, I put in but really using symbolism. So like I would put in a flag or some stars, or I was trying to think of something that I could, you know, it just said Portuguese American, at least to me, and using some kind of construction. And again, this is the same material. And I have a little bit of like these vines here. Again, those are just, if you go in the woods, you'll see like trees will just wrap and spiral up and they form these like twisted things. But I was when I created this piece, I was thinking of like vines and like thorns. And I was thinking of like the suffering and the, you know, the blackness or that kind of thing. So I wanted to incorporate a little bit of that kind of like pain, I think, I don't know, some kind of like.
It's kind of the historical struggle and
Yeah.
also the immigrant struggle, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, you know, because both of my parents were immigrants, factory workers to this, you know, they lived in a small town of Ludlow, Portuguese community. And so I definitely was very aware of that, incorporated some of that into my work. But then again, you know, looking at this, you're not going to get all of that immediately, but breaking it down into symbols, for me, it was just a form of doing that with this body of work.
It's very interesting that you are using architectural symbols. That's
You know, one thing that I love about the 3D element is that, I think when people traditionally think painting or artwork, they think kind of flat, maybe a little bit of textured, right? If it's maybe an acrylic or something like that. But I mean, this is like, it's like a combination
3D.
of painting and sculpture, right? And it just speaks to the freedom that you have as an artist to create whatever you want, right? There's no rules, which I love that. So you demonstrating this is really beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, this one,
it is.
I mean, just like the star from a US Air Force jet or something, like that symbol, bam. But then, you know, incorporating it with like curtains and crosses and, you know, this Catholic or this Portuguese spiritualism of the Catholicism and the thorns and the Iron Cross and the, you know, just trying to dabble with that. And again, keeping in mind with the twisted ropes of you know, the explorers. And I know it's been done, but I really wanted to like do something on the lines of just pretty original, something that is actually hold up.
So I'm curious, what do your parents think of your pieces, especially given the heavy Portuguese theme?
Thanks. Well, when my parents were alive, I mean, they obviously, you know, they sent I was from a working class family. They, you know, it was a big achievement to have food on a table, good ethic, morals, you know, raise me right, you know. I think when it was some of my earlier pieces that I created when I was younger, and I did an image that was recognizable, like this piece. You know, like if it was a recognizable Portuguese person or something simple that you could be like, I get it, you know, that would probably be like, oh, I can see, you know, this, there's craftsmanship, this is traditional, what a nice painting, you know. I think my parents knew I could do it. I think they were very proud of me. And, you know, when I graduated from Mass Art with an honors in an art degree, I mean, that I could stand up pretty proud with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
Sure.
I mean, then again, it was like, okay, so now what do I do? I've done that, but you know, there was a part of me that had to, you know, find a job, keep a consistent lifestyle, and you know, there was some soul searching, but I wanted to make sure that I kept it within what in my field, so that I would do something that I love, but I could also still be, you know, I wasn't gonna go work as a toll booth ticket taker down the Mass Pike. You know,
Right.
I definitely wanted to do something that was related to what my field. And
And so you went into teaching.
yeah, but I've always considered myself an artist / educator. Probably, I wouldn't say this probably too much in my my teaching profession, but I would say, yeah, I'd like to believe I'm more of an artist first. The educator comes kind of second. And
You're an artist who teaches versus a teacher who does art on the side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And there's nothing, I think that's a good way to put it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
My art informs my teaching. I'll get another piece. So I
Oh,
could
wow.
Wow.
Thanks. So this one, you know, it's again, the same along the lines. I was just looking for symbols. I was attracted to the Portuguese crown, American flag, kind of torn up a little bit with the vines and the thorns along the side.
I just have one comment. May
Yeah.
I, Jose? I'm looking at this particular series of paintings, and I see somehow a dreamy quality about it, like a surrealist thing. I don't know if you would consider yourself, if you think you have that, but I'm looking at them and I see all these symbols, and the way you put them together, it becomes another level of meaning. To me, it seems like a dream. There's a dreamy quality to them. Do you see that? Or
I do. Yeah, I mean, now that you pointed it out, it's funny because I've never really been. I definitely don't consider myself a surrealist in any sense. And I actually, when I was driving through Spain and I had an opportunity to stop off the Dali Museum, I kind of kept driving. I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll pass on Dali. I mean, I love Dali, but Clover, you can meet my dog.
oh, that's your assistant. Hello.
But yeah. So I think what I do mostly, though, because my sketchbooks inform me, is I like to create new meaning by combining elements that don't usually go together, and then create new meaning out of that. And so I've never really thought of myself as like a realist or a surrealist, but I definitely think that the creative, to keep the mind flowing and alive and thinking, is combining new elements to make new meaning of new things. So I tend to, whatever that might be, that's kind of how I see it. At least that's my approach. Let me share some smaller ones. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say about that piece, as somebody who participated in the Holy Ghost Festas growing up, that piece is really, I guess, poignant for me, because it is such a combination of the Portuguese and the American culture together. And, the festas, the way that they've evolved here, have very much become a Portuguese American thing, right? Like you don't see the way that we do them here, you don't see them that way in Portugal. So I really appreciate that piece, kind of bringing those two elements together. And then we do have our first comment / question from Facebook. It's from a fellow artist, Leonor Alvim Brazão. Jose Santos did a wonderful job organizing and curating exhibitions for Portuguese American artists. I participated in several. Is he planning to continue to promote our artists? So, do you have any big plans?
Well, I know Eleanor Brazão. Eleanor, I'm very moved. I appreciate sending you guys equally, sending you the love. But I had to. I had a great opportunity to do all of that, and amazing. We had an amazing thing going. I don't plan on ever doing that myself, to take that on, because that was a bit beyond what I could do, and it was heartbreaking we called it the Portuguese American Artists Association, and I had to at the time,
I remember that.
I
remember that.
I had to dissolve it because it was really at the time too much for me to do on my own, and it breaks my heart. I mean, I had it. It was very successful. We did some amazing things. I met some amazing people, and I think if someone was to take that kind of responsibility on, I guess you guys are, in a lot of ways, PALCUS is still kind of doing this, representing a number of artists, keeping this idea going. And I got the message very loud and clear from Portugal, that they wanted this here in the United States. They kind of wanted to send the message, hey, we need to represent our culture out there. It's vibrant, it's rich, there's a lot going on. And, I think in a way, you guys have kind of spearheaded that with what you're doing now in a different form. I think I was very ambitious, very young, and when I did that, I was idealistic. I graduated had graduated from Mass Art with my master's degree, and that was the message. To be successful, you work together with other artists, and you do this.
Yeah, I think I'm freezing. I think I keep stopping. And I was trying to say something, but yeah, no, absolutely. So PALCUS is, has evolved to sort of serve as a platform for some, specific, whether it's industry focused groups to come together. And we actually are going to be launching a new platform that will provide like a forum of, so we could have a Portuguese American Artists Forum, on our platform. So maybe it's kind of going back and taking baby steps to getting it back to an official kind of association, right? But at least creating a network of artists to come together and share resources, inspiration, help it, promote each other, that sort of thing. So yeah, but I do remember the Artists Association. I remember you used to have a Yahoo group, if I remember correctly. That I had actually subscribed to, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I could share,
yeah.
I could share a few. Why don't I share my sketches? These are really kind of more intimate. They're small, and more it's not stuff I really exhibit. I'm just trying to share this up close, but here's one, for example. When I was in Lisbon, I was walking through the streets. And I just, I sat down, I was looking at this street, which was windy, and I just sat down and did like a watercolor. So, and it's on panel, it's thin panel board, but, it was there. So it's Portuguese American art. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. If you ever decide to sell those, let me know.
This one was like this watercolor. It was actually down the street from my grandfather's house. And, when I was 10 years old, I got to see the land. I got to meet my grandparents. And down the street was this cross in front of this little house. And this house was my father's brother's house. And then they nicknamed him, you know, after the cross. I always thought that was so cool. I said, I just got to do a watercolor of that. And he, you know, my uncle, my father's brother, is called Zé da Cruz, you know, Joe of the cross. It's really something. So this was another watercolor of that same street. It's kind of just looking down, and it was just nice to be in that land and being there and experiencing that. This one here it's in Braga, up north, and I was just sitting in a cafe and captivated by the buildings, the architecture, simplicity of it. But again, like very, you see this, if you're Portuguese, you know it, you know this is Portuguese. Like there's
something about windows and doors in Portugal that like, they're just beautiful. They're so simple, but they're just beautiful.
Yeah. So it's just a little sketch, but it's meaningful to me. It's not something I've really exhibited. Like this one as well. I don't know if you can get a good look at it or if it is that okay. But
yeah.
So I'm sitting in Lisbon in the square, and I'm looking up at that. I mean, it could be like a little postcard, but it's that church that was burnt down, and they just left the arch there. But the street lights, the architecture, you know, I'm not in Boston anymore. You know, it's just definitely Lisbon, and it's just a little drawing, but to me, it really is what I do all the time. I mean, if you look through my sketchbooks, like consistently,
you draw.
Like I try to draw, capture something immediately, but this one in particular, it's just a little sketch which I keep.
And Jose, just a question: when you do these sketches, you are basically working your visual memory and the things you think of. Do you use it later for other artwork later on? Do you ever do paintings that are inspired by those drawings and sketches?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I'm always on to the next piece of artwork or the next sketch, and these pieces inform my work, but I don't like take, I don't often take them literally. I mean, it's a rare, I've done it. It's a rare piece where I'll take a sketch and turn it into a painting. I mean, I've been happy with it and I've done it, but it's not the way I really work. They're almost like, it's almost like a visual diary for me. It's like that, and then on to the next one, and on to the next one. Unless I'm working on a series of pieces where like, I will do a number of sketches for that body of work. So that's kind of my approach. I don't know if that answered the question. It might be a little.
You did. No, it's very interesting because I think artists, the way we work, some things that look literal for us are not. We are doing things like you say, it's a visual diary, and then maybe there's a feeling that you will use for your artwork, but not necessarily the image itself, the literal image. So it's part of your process. And I'm so happy you are showing these to us, because this is the work we do every day. You do every day, and you don't always show it. People like to see the artwork as a finished work. In the meanwhile, this process is very important and beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, you know.
Yeah, it's very intimate, very, you know, personal. They each have a personal story for me. Like even like this one. It's you know, sitting on a balcony in Porto. I believe it's along the Tejo, and these houses, you just, you know, again, it's like, you know, you're not in Kansas anymore, right? Like it's so, to me, I was like, this is so beautiful, and yet it's Portuguese land, and you know, it's like this immediate drawing. I had some time to do it, or this little watercolor study, you know. And this last one, I don't know if it screams out Portuguese. It does to me, but it's like, it comes with the story of my father's brother who came to America, enjoyed America. Here in New England, we have porches. Like, you know, my parents had a porch. They spend a lot of time in the porch, and it's enclosed, right, at their house. And, you know, the Portuguese coming over for the first time, seeing that, like my uncle, was, you know, so captivated by what a porch can do and how it's enclosed that, you know, he went back to Portugal and built it's not really a porch because it's open, but like this, almost like this little open like porch outside his front door. You know, he cemented it and he put plants at the end of it. And I just knowing that story, how we kind of cross-culturally influence each other, or have, and probably now more so than ever, and not even aware of it because it's happening so quick and so much of it. But as you slow down, and as a painter and an artist, and taking that in, it's so much. And then when it's so personal and meaningful, like it has to do with my family, it has to do with, you know, language, it has to do with so many things. You know, I create this piece and it's tucked away. And it's probably, you know, if you guys didn't ask for an interview, it'd be in a box, tucked away with hundreds of other sketches and drawings that I probably would never talk about again, you know, but it's Portuguese to me, you know, it's that experience.
Beautiful and beautiful.
Thank you.
Jose, I'm curious about, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Isabel.
I'm curious about your bishop series. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but this commission you had and all that wonderful work I had a chance to pick. Would you like to talk about it a little bit?
Absolutely, I'm honored to talk about it. So the Catholic Church in Portugal commissioned me a while back to write to illustrate a book on the life of a saint in Braga called Vida de São Frutuoso.
Frutuoso, wow.
And if you open this book, it's a catalog. If you open this book, it has pages and pages of illustrations which describe the life of this saint, which is very similar to it's a very, you know, Christian, kind of early Christian life of a bishop. So this church that we're talking about in Braga has actually really developed from the life story of the saint from the church. It's a very old church. To you know, I was commissioned to do some tiles, all based on the bishops. I just have this sample here, but they took the original artwork and they blew it up like life size. So outside the church, there's these murals of these bishops. And so if anyone's ever up there in Portugal and Braga.
Those are beautiful.
Beautiful.
They really
beautiful.
are. Like I don't know when I'm going to be in Portugal again, but that is on my list to go see for sure.
Me too.
You know, if you're lost, and you know, this happened to me. I stayed there and on the church grounds, and I went into town, in the center of town in Braga, and I was completely lost. And I just said, "Oh, do you know where this church is?" And everybody knew it, you know. So if you don't know what church to go to, just remember, you know, there's this.
It's São Frutuoso is the name. São Frutuoso.
Yeah.
That's the name of the church.
Igreja São Frutuoso.
Yeah.
And then from there, what actually happened is those bishops, I took them and I modernized them. And so all of them, I kind of made it more cubist. I broke them all the images up and kind of made it more wild and expressive. And they just told me recently that the Pius XII Museum in Braga acquired several of the pieces. So it's now on part of their permanent collection. And it's a very prestigious little museum. If you go to the museum, they're on exhibit now, but they're now part of their collection. You can see these works or asked to see them, but they are there, and it's quite an honor. You know, a few years back, I was fortunate to have, and this is just recent. I mean, this is within the past month, so I need to update my resume. It's really cool. It's another like, yeah, okay, cool.
Do you have images of those, the Cubist bishops?
I do, but I have
I'm
to.
Curious.
I'm gonna leave it so that, and you know, I actually just promoted it. I promoted those paintings on my here in the Fort Point community newsletter. We have a newsletter that circulates in the Boston area to people, to artists, to fans of the Fort Point community. And so I promoted it. I just like put it out there. I said, you know, go to the museum, go to the website, check it out. But they have all those pieces, and if you're really interested, you'll have to go there. I don't have a
okay, definitely.
I think for sure your parents would be and are proud looking down, very much so.
Well, I was the only son, so I mean that in itself, probably didn't have to do anything, you know. My son, and I was.
Yeah, the sun rose and set. I understand, you know, that.
I kind of had a golden path there. You know, it could do no. I definitely. Yeah, I mean, I hope it at this point in my life, you know, I hope to just continue and expand, and you know, they're part of who I am, and that all my cousins and all my very large family in Portugal and here that's my roots, you know, and I'm honored as well, you know. It's not just that my parents were proud or knew how to, they showed me how they, you know, they could, they gave me the opportunity that what they didn't experience, they passed down to me, and you know, I can only hope to do that, you know, for my daughter or the next generation as well, you know, because those are values that are permanent, you know, they stick with you. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah. Speaking of next generation, so what are some of the, I guess, I don't know if it's philosophies, I don't want to say techniques, but what are the things that you pass on to your students based on your own experiences?
Well, I'll say it briefly. I don't want to be too, what are the values that I pass on? It's just, it's really important to me to pass on the passion and the love I have for what I do and the field. You know, art is it's meaningful. It's the spice of life. You know, get out there to a gallery, see some artwork, create some artwork, you know, do it. I pass that on, I hope, very passionately. Other than that, you know, whatever is left, I don't know.
Have you had any students that have gone on to pursue art as a career, or? Well,
you know what? Right now, my daughter, and I'm extremely proud of her. I never imagined it. You know, my daughter is doing art, and you know, her work just blows my mind. I mean, I'm just so impressed. She's very expressive. She's, you know, by the time she's my age, she'll supersede me twofold. It's really amazing. I've had students very accomplished, you know, it's a rare, and now I can say it because I've been teaching so long. You know, I will have maybe a handful, 2, 3 at the most, that go on to be successful or extremely talented, that stand out here in my mind, you know. But I can honestly say, you know, it's really cool, you know, to see that my daughter is actually doing that too, and she's into it. But you know, she's also smart. I mean, she's like, well, you know, I do it, but you know, she's in some ways following in my steps. It's kind of like, yeah, you can do it, but you have to have a motive. a mode of survival. Like, what are you going to do? You know, at this point,
Yeah.
like I said, I know many artists, many successful, very intelligent, creative artists. Are they living just on their art? I don't know any of them, unless, you know, inherently they can do it. But I think you know, you have to really balance. It's for the rest of your life. It's a commitment and a balance if it's something you want to pursue. You know, but I think yeah.
We need to have you and your daughter on together, and
Next time,
and then she can talk about your influence and her work.
All you would need to do is feature her work. You know, by that point, pretty cool.
No, that's great. That's amazing. So we definitely have to get her artwork up on the site, on the Portuguese American Art Gallery site, and then we'll get her in the queue to do one of these virtual Meet the Artist sessions.
Good idea. Good idea.
Very cool. So what are you working on now?
Well, at this point, I didn't want to show you the one I'm working on today because I'm still in process, and you know, it's so new. But I'm doing a lot of large works that are. Why don't I show you? Hold on.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Is it part of a 10-part collection like you normally do?
It is. I mean, I've been doing a number of these.
Oh, it's beautiful. Wow.
Thanks. This is very large. It's just one of, you know, it's one of many. I've been working on this series. I think, you know, again, if once I exhaust this, I'll probably go on to something else. Just lines, patterns, shapes, and on a large scale, just lots of movement. But you know.
And what technique are you using? Using oil or acrylic?
This one in particular is just house paint, and
Okay.
you can see all that house paint back there.
Yeah, I have the same in my studio. I know what house paint is. We love it.
Gallons of it. So, and that's why, you know, if you just dip a stick in house paint, you can really draw some wonderful lines. And then it's just going back and filling in the shapes. It's a very meditative process of just repetition. You know, I'm dabbling in it. I wanted to create some for some office spaces here in the 4 Point area. You know, I've had some exhibits here locally, and you know, I sold here, and so that's kind of what that work is.
Does it have a name? Do you name your series or no? You don't name them.
No, I mean, I try to. I'm always changing the names. I might name this one day, and then another day change the name and name it something else. And if I don't write it on the back of the canvas, I'm pretty much, you know, today it's series blue number 12. Tomorrow it's, you know, the road map down through Boston. You know, it doesn't really matter. But I definitely, you know, in order to have some kind of organization to submit to shows, I try to keep it like at least within the. I don't want to give too much away, you know. I don't want to say, you know, this is a roadmap or this is a you know, something, because then it, you know, obviously I want the person who sees it to experience it.
Have their own interpretation, yeah.
That's really
so it's strange. What's interesting to me, and again, I think the wonderfulness of the freedom of art is that, you know, the collection that you showed us first is so different, completely different than this piece, right? And I imagine you could show us another collection that's completely different than those two. So how do you like transition from style to style? Is it your mood? Is it a mindset? Is it something inspired you? And then do you also have to learn new techniques to do these things, or are you just sort of experimenting?
Yeah, you know, I think in a lot of ways you answered all your question as your kind of question. You know, I've had a hard time. I've lived in this artist building, for example, that I live at, you know, here at the 300 Summer Street Artist Building, downtown Boston. And we have open studios every fall. And I have hundreds of people coming into my workspace here. And, you know, I meet lots of people, collectors and art lovers and just students. And, you know, they'll come in and they'll say, it looks like 3 different artists live here. And I don't really care. I mean, I'm not at the, I've never, I never wanted to tie myself to just one look for the rest of my life. You know, they're my next door neighbors who are artists, you know, you see their work and you say, that belongs to blah, 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 you know, and because it's so obvious, that's what they do, right? I guess my strand, my honest, heartfelt strand throughout my work really is my sketchbooks. I mean, I have bookshelves of sketchbooks, hundreds of drawings. That strand just carries me through all the time. That's my signature of my style that just comes naturally and intuitively. Paintings really are about, as I said right from the start of this interview, I'll give it about 10, 15 good solid paintings. I explore a theme for this, particularly the Portuguese theme for that, exploring a medium, doing the you know, the interior, or doing some work for the Catholic Church, for example, the murals, the bishops. I'm really not concerned. I mean, I think I've given myself that freedom to explore and discover.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a school teacher, for one. So as a school teacher, I'm always going to continue to work. I always have my that as a basis, you know. In my studio, well, if I'm learning something else or inspired by my students, which comes to me, and then I can give back still again, it's very circular, and I might be in a different place, you know. I can't say that, I can't say I'm stuck to one thing, but one thing, like I said, my sketchbooks, and also once I've discovered a style, I can go back, you know, if I'm still interested in doing that. If I want to do a painting like this, I know it's my, people will say, wow, it should be, that's all it should do, man. That's realistic. That's how it should go. That's what art is. That's, you know, that's quality technically, you know. But if I wanted, I think to limit myself to that and just to be on that level, I would be shortchanging myself to all the fun and all the creative experiments and discoveries and what the living an artistic life would mean. And so I'll leave that for others, maybe, you know, for art galleries in New York, which they're looking for a particular style, and maybe you know, but that's okay. Because if I want to do that, I know I can skip several years and still go back to it and still know how to do that. You know, but do I want to? Was that really going to?
Yeah, that's the main question. You want to be your integrity and your freedom. So these are the main things for you as an artist. You have your own integrity and your freedom to create whatever you want to create. So that's good. And I don't think we should be limited to a style. Actually, you have a style, and it's a diverse style, in my opinion. You do many things, but it's still you doing them. So it's very interesting, your approach. And I think every artist has to do a lot of research in many areas to do whatever they do. I still find that you have to know from A to Z. You cannot be a good abstract artist without knowing how to paint a person, and vice versa. It's my opinion. I was also teaching like you, and that somehow comes back to us too. The fact that the teaching somehow influences to your way of working. Don't you think?
Yeah. No? Yeah, and you know, it's also cultural. I still go back to that as well. Like back when I was, when I had several artists in the Portuguese American Artists Association, and one of my dear friends, close artist friends said to me, and many people at the time, would say to me, you know, you're really searching, you're trying to be so Portuguese, you know, you want to make this look Portuguese so that, you know, you got this in and it's part of your community. And, you know, they would say to me, you know, what are you trying so hard to be Portuguese for? You know, it's going to come through your work because that's who you are. Just, you know, like this painting behind me is probably not Portuguese, but I'll tell you, if you wanted to make an association and somehow make a connection, you'd probably find it somewhere along the line.
Well, I do. For example, I was looking at that painting and I was thinking about a very well-known Portuguese painter, Vieira da Silva. Some of her, you know, could be.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, at some point, I just, even young, at a young age, I was like, you know, that was a pretty intense message for my artist friends, you know, and to start trying so hard, just be.
And so that kind of gave you the freedom to start exploring other things, kind of that little nudge. Because I will say that's one thing I love about the Portuguese American Art Gallery website is that it showcases such a wide range of styles, and that, you know, yes, I mean, we have in our house some, you know, images of hortensias and other Portuguese themed, you know, iconic things, but there's also so many other things in the world to paint and things from your imagination. It doesn't, like your friend said, it doesn't have to be a rooster, you know, that kind of thing. So did that sort of help you open up?
I think it gave me a little bit of, it gave me confidence in a sort of way, and sort of branch off, yeah, to try and say, okay, well, you know, I as much as I can try to lock myself into this or try to be representative, I think it'll be there, you know.
Thank you. Well, we have another comment here from Facebook. It's from Elia Borges Souza, who is an artist out in California. She says, great artwork, congratulations and continued success. And thank you for this great interview. Wishing you happiness. So another more well wishes.
Thank you so much.
And I'll just remind everybody that, you know, the Portuguese American Art Gallery initiative, it's open to all artists. So there's no, you know, you don't have to have achieved a certain level of success or have an award or anything like that. It's really a platform to showcase all the wonderful talent that's in our community, and whether that's painting, sculpture, photography, digital art, anything, any type of visual art, that's where we want to showcase it. So if you have art that you'd like to submit, or you know an artist that you think should be on that website, please send it to us. You can email us directly at palcus@palcus.org, because the idea is to just fill that site with wonderful art from all our talented artists across the community. So I just wanted to give that little plug and encourage people to submit their works. So, well, we are reaching our time. So Isabel, I don't know if you have any.
Well, I'd just like to make a comment, and this basically, I'd like to thank you, Jose, for this for this visit to your studio, and especially sharing with us in a way that is so authentic how you create, what you do, and it's really very impressive. And I want to congratulate you personally, and also as an artist, I admire your work. And Angela, also thank you for this initiative. It's very special. Thank you.
Well, thank you as well. I mean, thank you for the opportunity and the time and the time you guys have given me and this attention. I'm also very grateful. And yeah, I hopefully pass on a little bit that each and every one of us has an artistic bent.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to close with some words of advice for any budding artists out there who maybe have the art inside of them but haven't, you know, found a medium yet, or maybe they're starting to express their artwork, and you know, maybe where do I go from here, that sort of thing. So any words of advice that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, art is very the word art and art itself is very broad. I mean, it encompasses such a big spectrum. It's political, it's spiritual, it's personal, it's, you know, it's economic. It's really it's a wide, big thing. And, you know, I think for all of us and all that we do, you know, I couldn't, as a teacher, this is the teacher part of me talking, I couldn't do what I do unless I really believed and I see and convey that, you know, it's a part of our it's a part of our intuitive process. It's part of us, our creative bent. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a painter for your whole life, but it's that venue that you can do and explore. And, you know, we're not all, if I could only convey that you're not out there to create, you know, a masterpiece, but to delve into it and try it and explore and discover what it does for you, or just to enjoy an art exhibit, you know, that is so important and so inspiring in life. To be exposed to that, you know, our institutions, our museums, and it really is part of our mind, you know, and it'll always be there. It's that element that goes back so far, you know, to the first caveman drawings, you know, and I really believe like we all have it in us to be creative, expressive in our own ways, and whatever it is you do and whatever medium you choose and whatever you call it, you know, I'm someone who chose the fine arts, you know, the paint, the plastic arts, but you know, it's so broad. If it's something that you know, you like to collect buttons, you know, or seashells, you know, that may be that little form or expressive where you're looking deeply at something and the texture, the beauty of life itself, you know, and that's art, you know. And I have so many arguments with my students about, oh, is that art? Or art can be whatever you want it to be. And I'm like, well, yes, it's true. You know, that is all true. But, you know, art is actually an intellectual process as well, you know. You do it so much, you expose yourself so much, you read about it, you do it, you create, and eventually you do it over a lifetime, and things shift and change, and you grow, and you become really, you know, for people who do a lot of it, like anything else, you know, you get pretty good, and you expand, and your tastes in life grow. You have a certain taste for certain things, and you know, things that you might not have ever thought you would like, you end up liking because you're exposed to them and you have a more understanding of it. But it's who we are. It's the basis of who we are, you know, the creative mind. So I could go on, and if you let me, I would go on and on, but we have to end this.
Yeah, so we only have 2 minutes left. Well, thank you, Jose, and thank you, Isabel, so much, and thanks everybody who was out there watching. And we hope you enjoyed this session. Please visit the website to see Jose's art, and leave some nice comments. And again, if you know of an artist or you're an artist yourself, please submit your works and we'll get you added to the website. And then hopefully we'll have you on one of these sessions. So thank you, Jose. Thank you, Isabel. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.